There is a silent war within every human being, the war between the man he is and the man he could be. And that battle is won, not with strength, not with luck, not with talent, but with action. Action is the key to greatness, but it does not come naturally. It must be forced. It must be commanded. The man who waits for the perfect time will find himself buried in years of regret. The one who acts, though unready, is the one who shapes empires. So how do you force yourself to act? The first step to forcing yourself to take action is not motion. It is not energy. It is not even discipline. The first step is clarity. You must know exactly what you want. Not vaguely, not loosely, not something you hope will work out someday. No. You must define the target. Name it. Own it. Burn it into your mind until every fiber of your being becomes magnetized by its presence, until you feel it before you touch it, until it becomes more real in your imagination than your current reality. Without a definite purpose, a man is a ship without a rudder. The winds of life toss him from side to side. He moves, but he arrives nowhere. He works, but he builds nothing. He wakes up, but he doesn't live. He is alive, but not truly living. The man with no purpose is the servant of circumstance. But the man who knows what he wants bends circumstance to his will. You will never act with power until you know why you must act. The reason must be crystal clear. It must pierce the fog of distraction, fear, and comfort. A definite purpose does not whisper. It roars in your soul. It wakes you in the middle of the night. It drowns out the noise of the world. It does not ask for your attention. It demands it. Because when a purpose is definite, it creates urgency. And urgency breeds movement. Look around and you will see 1,000 men running in circles, working hard at things they do not love, chasing dreams that are not theirs, climbing ladders that lean against the wrong wall. They were never taught the secret that until you define what you are chasing, every action is scattered energy, and scattered energy builds nothing. But focused energy, directed at a single burning objective, is the force that reshapes the world. Do not wait for your purpose to arrive in some great moment of inspiration. You must choose it. You must sit down with yourself and dig deep. What do you want more than comfort, more than ease, more than approval? What do you want with such fire that you would give up sleep for it? What would you bleed for? What would you rise again and again for, even if the world kept knocking you down? That is your purpose. And once you find it, you must never let it go. A purpose must not be general. I want to be rich is not a purpose. I want to be successful is not a purpose. These are daydreams, empty wishes. Your purpose must be exact. It must be measured. It must be visible, a specific sum, a specific goal, a specific mission. You must be able to close your eyes and see it. You must be able to describe it. You must know what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. Vague dreams do not command the mind, but clear, definite ones, they possess it. When the mind becomes possessed by a single aim, it begins to bend all thoughts, all energies, all decisions toward that aim. Suddenly your time becomes valuable. Your attention sharpens. Your days become strategic. You begin to move like a man on fire. There is no more wondering if you should act. You act because the goal is too real to ignore. When a man walks in purpose, hesitation dies, because now every action is no longer a task. It is a step. Every failure becomes information. Every delay becomes preparation. Every obstacle becomes a test of worth. And a worthy man will always choose to act. A definite purpose gives you the most powerful gift in life, direction. It silences the voices of doubt. It blinds you to distractions. It forces you to look forward, never back. Without it, you will drift, and the world will decide your value. But with it, you will rise, and the world will move to match your demand. People will tell you to wait. They will tell you not to be so extreme. Or they will say it's okay to take it easy. But these are the voices of the lost, the voices of the undecided, the voices of those who live life with the brakes on. Their advice will drown your spirit if you let it. But when you have a definite purpose, their words mean nothing, because you are no longer moving in circles. You are not wandering. You are not hoping. You are executing a mission you have chosen, a mission that speaks to the core of who you are. And so I ask you now, not lightly, but with the weight of destiny behind it, what do you want? Not what your parents want, not what society wants, not what's easy, but what do you want? Say it, write it, carve it into your mind, decide it, and then let everything in your life answer to that decision. Your friends, your habits, your use of time, your thoughts, your every movement must now become a servant of that single burning aim. Because once the purpose becomes definite, and once the fire becomes real, the only thing left to do is to force your feet forward again and again until the dream that once lived only in your mind becomes the reality you wake up in each day and still reach beyond because you know there is still more and more and more. There is a fire that lives inside every man, but in most, it sleeps. It flickers faintly when they are inspired, then fades the moment life presses down. But in the few, the rare few, that fire becomes a furnace, a raging, blinding force that turns dreams into destiny, thoughts into motion, and hesitation into action. That fire is desire. Not a wish, not a hope, not a someday thought, but a burning desire. The kind that consumes the mind and refuses to be silenced. Nothing great has ever been achieved without it. It is the starting point of all success. It is the one force that can drag a man from the pit of defeat and lift him to heights he never imagined possible. It is the fire that keeps burning when there is no evidence you will win, when your back is against the wall, when failure laughs in your face. Desire does not ask for permission. It does not care what stands in its way. When it becomes strong enough, it demands progress. It forces action. It ignites courage. You do not need permission to dream, but to achieve you need desire that burns. Because when the road gets hard, and it will, only desire will keep you from quitting. Talent will not. Motivation will not. Even discipline will tremble without a reason to act. That reason must be set on fire. It must be alive inside you. It must be personal. You must want what you say you want with such intensity that it becomes an obsession. You must hunger for it, breathe for it, live for it. Desire is not born in comfort. It is born in dissatisfaction. It is born when a man looks at his life and says, "This is not enough." It is born in the pit of the stomach when you see someone living the life you know could be yours. It rises in your chest when you see potential locked away behind fear. It screams when you see time slipping through your fingers and know you were made for more. That scream, if you listen closely, is the birth of burning desire. And if you feed it, it grows. If you obey it, it leads. If you ignore it, it punishes. Because desire not expressed turns to bitterness. It rots in the soul of the man who doesn't act. It becomes regret. And regret is a slow death. If you want to move, if you want to force yourself into action, do not ask for motivation. You must build desire. Feed it. Speak it aloud. Visualize it daily. See the life you want so vividly that it feels unbearable to remain where you are. Your current comfort must become more painful than your future struggle. Only then will you move. Only then will you act. You must want it so badly that you are willing to look like a fool, to be misunderstood, to suffer without reward, to walk alone. Because the burning desire inside you is not for decoration. It is the engine of greatness. You do not find burning desire in the opinions of others. You do not borrow it from someone else's dream. It must be yours. Deep, emotional, tied to something that matters. Not just money, not just status, but meaning, freedom, impact, redemption, revenge against the weaker version of yourself. Something bigger than pride. Something powerful enough to make you rise when no one tells you to. Something strong enough to make you work when there is no applause. Something real enough to make you sacrifice sleep, ego, and comfort. And once that desire becomes a part of your blood, nothing can stop you. Not time, not failure, not fear. People will say you're obsessed. Good. Obsession is what mediocrity calls focused ambition. They will say you're too extreme. Good. All progress was born from extremes. They will say you're changing. Good. Change is the first sign that desire is doing its work. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them watch. Because soon they will see what desire can do when it's backed by relentless action and an unshakable decision. Desire alone is not enough. It must be fed with belief. It must be paired with a definite goal. It must be followed by action. But it is the spark that lights the whole machine. Without it, nothing else has power. With it, even the impossible starts to bend. It gives life to effort. It gives meaning to sacrifice. It turns hours of labor into minutes. It pushes past fatigue. It erases fear. It whispers in the dark that you are not done yet, that you must go again, that you must not stop until you have what you came for. It is the voice in your soul, louder than your excuses, louder than your pain, louder than your past. And when you feed that desire every single day, it begins to grow teeth. It bites into your mind and won't let go. It wakes you up before the alarm. It keeps you working long after others quit. It drives you to study, to train, to speak, to build, to act. You start to see opportunities where others see problems. You start to rise while others sleep. You start to move with the certainty of a man who must win. You stop asking for guarantees and start becoming the guarantee. And when you arrive, when you finally taste the result of the fire you carried all this time, you won't stop because the desire will still burn. It will never be satisfied. Not because you are greedy, not because you are restless, but because you have awakened something in you that refuses to die. And that fire is what keeps a man alive long after the world told him he had nothing left to give, and he simply smiled and kept going because he knows there is still more and more and more. Faith is not a matter of chance. It is not something that falls from the sky or waits to be discovered. It is something you build, something you cultivate, something you demand from yourself when the evidence is missing and the road is dark. It is the bridge between where you are and where you must go. It is the one force that stands when everything else begins to collapse. When fear creeps in, when results are slow, when people doubt you, when even your own mind questions your worth. It is faith that keeps your feet moving forward. No man will take consistent action toward a goal he does not believe is possible. No man will persist when he secretly thinks he will fail. No man will sacrifice, struggle, or suffer for a vision he cannot see becoming real. Faith is the root of all power. It is the invisible hand that moves the man before the world gives him permission. It is the voice inside that says, go, even when logic says, wait. It is the one inner force that cannot be taken, borrowed, or inherited. It must be built by you, for you, within you, and faith is not passive. It is not idle. It is not soft. Faith is fierce. Faith is discipline in motion. It is a weapon forged in the furnace of your own mind. It does not require proof. It creates proof. It does not wait for results. It causes results. A man with faith can walk alone, be laughed at, be doubted, be delayed, and still rise. Not because he sees the path clearly, but because he knows the outcome is already his. The world belongs to those who believe before it's reasonable. The man who waits to see before he believes will never take the first step. But the man who believes so deeply that he cannot stay still, he is the one who builds bridges where others see rivers. He is the one who walks into the unknown and dares it to break him. He is the one who says, this will happen, and then makes it so. He is the one who keeps going when everyone else needs motivation, proof, or applause. Because faith is not built from the outside, it is built from within. You must train your mind to believe in what it cannot yet see. You must speak your vision daily, even if no one listens. You must hold the picture of your future so clearly in your imagination that it begins to feel more real than your current surroundings. That picture, burned into the mind, becomes your compass. And when you move toward it with intensity, with repetition, with conviction, something incredible happens. The world begins to shift. Doors open. Resources appear. People show up. And what once looked impossible slowly becomes undeniable. That is not magic. That is the power of faith backed by action. And yet most people walk through life with faith in reverse. They believe in failure. They expect loss. They anticipate rejection. They repeat negative thoughts, then call it realism. But what you believe, you become. What you focus on, you feed. If you carry fear in your heart, it will rule you. If you carry doubt in your mind, it will paralyze you. But if you carry faith, if you nurture it, if you guard it like a sacred flame, it will give you eyes to see beyond the storm. It will lift you when your body wants to quit. It will tell you to act when your emotions beg for rest. It will make you dangerous to the excuses that once owned you. Faith is not ignoring reality. It is creating a new one. It is seeing the future through the eyes of willpower, not weakness. It is walking into uncertainty with the calm of a man who already knows the ending. You build faith by doing what you said you would do. You build it by keeping promises to yourself, by finishing the task even when it's inconvenient, by showing up on the days you feel empty, by standing tall when it would be easier to hide. Every act of discipline strengthens belief. Every step taken in courage builds momentum. Every time you defy fear, faith grows stronger, and one day you will feel it, not as a thought but as a force. You will feel it in your bones, a certainty that you were made for this, that the struggle was shaping you, that the delay was preparing you, that the failures were refining you, that the waiting was never punishment, it was placement. You will look back and realize that every time you stepped forward with nothing but faith in your chest, you were building a bridge that could not be seen, but was always there, stretching across the canyon of your current life to the promised land of your true potential. No one will build that bridge for you. No one will hand you belief. No one will force you to see yourself as worthy. That work is yours alone. You must demand it from yourself. You must protect it from the outside world. You must declare it again and again and again until the echo becomes your identity. And when the world still says no, you must still say yes. When the world says wait, you must say now. When the world says you can't, you must whisper back with unwavering certainty that you already have and will again and again and again. And again, procrastination is the enemy with no face, the silent thief of time, the master deceiver that convinces you there is always tomorrow. It does not scream. It does not attack. It whispers. It waits. It offers comfort dressed as reason. It tells you to pause, to think, to get ready, to feel right, to wait for clarity or energy or timing. And it always sounds logical while it pulls you further from your destiny. And the only weapon powerful enough to kill it is decision, not a casual decision, not a maybe, not a half-hearted thought followed by hesitation. Only a full force, no turning back, burn the ships. This is it kind of decision has the power to break the grip of procrastination. Because procrastination feeds on uncertainty. It thrives in delay. It multiplies in hesitation. But the moment a real decision is made, the kind where the bridge behind you is gone and only the road ahead remains, procrastination loses its power. A real decision closes the doors to every other option. It eliminates the luxury of retreat. It creates urgency, pressure, and commitment. And most importantly, it triggers action. Because once the mind knows there is no escape, it stops looking for distractions and starts looking for strategies. It stops making excuses and starts making progress. The man who cannot decide is a prisoner to every obstacle, every opinion, every distraction, but the man who has decided moves like a storm through life. He does not ask for permission. He does not check the weather. He does not consult his emotions. He simply acts. You will never conquer procrastination until you stop negotiating with it. As long as you treat your goals like an option, you will delay. As long as you act like you have time, you will waste it. As long as you move without urgency, you will drift. But when you decide that this is your time, that this is your fight, that this is your life, and it will be lived now, then everything changes. Time becomes sacred. Action becomes automatic. Movement becomes natural. You don't need more motivation. You need a moment where you draw the line, a moment where you say no more, a moment where you accept that every second spent waiting is a second you'll never get back. Most people think they are procrastinating because they're lazy, but it's not laziness, it's a lack of decision. They haven't truly decided what they want, how badly they want it, and what they're willing to give up to get it. They are still entertaining other lives, other versions of themselves, other futures that cost less and offer comfort. And until you kill those options in your mind, you will keep drifting, you will keep pausing, you will keep living below your capacity. Decision brings focus. Focus creates action. Action creates momentum. Momentum destroys procrastination. Stop saying you'll do it when you feel like it. You won't. You never will. Because feelings follow action, not the other way around. Your mind will not give you energy until it sees you move. It will not give you clarity until it sees you commit. Waiting for inspiration is a fool's game. The successful do not wait to feel ready. They move while uncertain. They strike while afraid. They commit while unsure. And by doing so, they build belief. and belief strengthens the decision until it is unshakable, there comes a moment in every life where the cost of waiting becomes heavier than the risk of doing. That moment is your opportunity to decide to choose the life you want over the life you've tolerated, to act now instead of later, to begin even when everything inside you begs for delay. That moment is rare. That moment is powerful. That moment is how lives change. And when it comes, you must be ready to act without hesitation, because hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever could. Hesitation is the first crack in the wall of belief, and once it opens, doubt rushes in, fear follows, and the fire dies. But when you move immediately, not later, not next week, not tomorrow, but now, the wall of belief becomes unbreakable. You do not need more time. You need stronger decisions. You need to decide that your future will not be built by chance but by choice. You need to decide that every time you delay, you are stealing from your own potential. You need to decide that greatness does not belong to the man who waits, but to the man who moves. And once that decision is made, you must protect it with action. Action is how decisions are kept alive. Without it, decisions rot. Without it, they become wishes, but with it, they become weapons. You do not become powerful by thinking about it. You become powerful by deciding something so strongly that not acting becomes more painful than action. You must reach a place in your mind where procrastination is no longer an option, where delay is death, where comfort is betrayal, where time is currency and every second you invest must return with interest. You must look at your life and ask, where am I undecided? And then cut away the fluff. Strip it down. Get clear. Get direct. And decide. Decide who you are. Decide what you will do. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. Decide what you are no longer willing to postpone. And when the decision is real, it will show up in how fast you move, how deeply you commit, how ruthlessly you cut distractions, how powerfully you show up again and again, whether anyone claps or not, whether the path is easy or not, whether you feel like it or not, because the man who has decided does not wait for permission. He does not fear failure. He does not stop to explain. He simply moves forward and forward and forward and forward. The mind is a servant, but it will only obey the master who knows how to command. Most men allow their minds to wander, to drift, to absorb every fear, every doubt, every lazy whisper that the world throws at them. And then they wonder why they do not act. They wonder why they are paralyzed, inconsistent, uncertain, and filled with hesitation. But the answer is simple. They have not taken control of their inner dialogue. They have not programmed the mind with what it must believe. And what the mind does not believe, it will never pursue autosuggestion as the act of feeding the mind with words, with conviction, with repetition, until it accepts those words as truth. And once the mind accepts an idea as truth, it begins to act on it. It begins to search for evidence, to form habits, to create energy, to push the body toward motion. It is the trigger of all human behavior. Every action you have ever taken began as a whispered thought, repeated often enough that it eventually became real to you. And if you do not deliberately control those whispers, they will be controlled by the world around you. You cannot take powerful action while holding weak thoughts. You cannot build a bold life while feeding yourself timid words. The mind must be instructed. It must be trained. It must be reminded every single day who you are, what you want, and what you are willing to do to get it. This is not positive thinking. This is programming. This is repetition backed by belief, belief backed by clarity, and clarity backed by relentless action. When you tell the mind what to focus on, it begins to filter the world through that lens. When you declare your purpose every day with emotion, the mind begins to build momentum. And when that momentum rises, action becomes the only option every day you wake up. You are either programming your mind or being programmed by something else. Every word you speak about yourself, every thought you repeat, every label you accept is shaping the world you live in. Say you're tired, and the body will follow. Say you can't do it, and your energy will vanish. Say it's too hard, and your effort will shrink. But say you were built for this. Say you are relentless. Say nothing will stop you. Say you act now, not later. Say your time is now, and then say it again, and again, and again, until your voice is louder than your excuses, until your belief drowns out your fear. until your desire roars louder than your doubt. Autosuggestion is how you turn thought into belief, belief into emotion, emotion into fire, and fire into action. It is the daily discipline of speaking your vision until it becomes unavoidable. It is the refusal to let your mind default to weakness. It is the mental ritual that says, I decide what I believe, and then repeating that belief until it becomes identity. And once it becomes identity, action flows from it effortlessly. The man who believes he is disciplined does not struggle to act. The man who believes he is strong does not wait for courage. The man who believes he is destined for greatness does not need permission to move, because action is no longer forced. It is natural. You cannot afford to speak carelessly. Every word becomes a seed. Every thought becomes a blueprint. Every sentence becomes a command to your subconscious. Speak as if your life depends on it, because it does. You are always building something. The question is, are you building power or building weakness? The one who talks about his fears will live in fear. The one who talks about his future will move toward it. Your language must align with your purpose. Your affirmations must align with your actions. You must speak what you are becoming until the world cannot ignore what you've become, and the key is repetition. The mind does not change with one whisper. It does not shift with one positive sentence. It must be repeated again and again with intensity, with emotion, until it sinks below the surface and becomes part of your wiring. You must say it when you believe it, and you must say it when you don't. You must say it when you feel powerful, and especially when you feel broken. You must say it until you hear your own voice in moments of fear, in moments of fatigue, in moments of darkness. That voice becomes your compass. That voice becomes your edge. That voice becomes the difference between stopping and continuing autosuggestion. Is not magic. It does not replace action. It fuels it. It is the inner fire you ignite before you take the step. It is the mental armor you wear into the battle. It is the command center from which all execution flows. The world will try to distract you. Your past will try to define you. Your failures will try to haunt you. But when you are armed with a mind trained on power, on purpose, on movement, you are unstoppable. You wake up and command your day. You face obstacles and command your emotions. You face resistance and command your persistence, because your mind has already accepted that you are the kind of person who does not quit, who does not delay, who does not break under pressure, who does not seek comfort, who does not need praise, who does not need rescue, who does not ask if it's possible. Because the decision has already been made, and your job now is to execute and rise and repeat and dominate and move and build and return every day. To feed the mind again and again and again and again. Knowledge is not power unless it is organized, directed, and applied toward a definite end. The world is overflowing with knowledge, but still full of powerless men. They read, they scroll, they consume facts, opinions, ideas, yet they remain still, paralyzed, confused, and stuck, because knowledge in itself means nothing until it is harnessed and used to serve a purpose. The man who knows everything but does nothing is no more powerful than the man who knows nothing at all. But the man who knows precisely what he must know, who sharpens his mind in a specific direction, who gathers knowledge like a weapon and wields it with force, that man is dangerous. That man becomes unstoppable. You must stop collecting random information like a beggar picking scraps. You must stop confusing motion with meaning, busy work with building, reading with rising. If knowledge is not tied to your purpose, it is a distraction. If it does not drive action, it is entertainment. Most people are drowning in general knowledge, thinking it will make them valuable, thinking it will somehow magically lead them to success. But only specialized knowledge gives you leverage. Only the kind of knowledge that solves a specific problem, that builds a specific result, that applies to a specific mission will drive your life forward. You must know your goal. You must define your desire. And then you must ask one question: what knowledge do I need to master in order to get there faster, better, stronger? Then you hunt that knowledge with obsession. You pursue it like a warrior seeking his next weapon. You master it until it bends to your command. You apply it before you feel ready. You test it. You fail with it. You refine it. You study it again. And over time, that specialized knowledge becomes your edge. It becomes your advantage. It becomes the power behind your action. The reason most people do not act is not because they are lazy. It is because they are scattered. Their minds are loaded with contradictions. They know a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing. They are overwhelmed with choices because they have no filter. But when your knowledge is specialized, when it is directed by a burning desire and a definite purpose, confusion disappears. You know what to focus on. You know what to ignore. You know what matters. And that clarity eliminates resistance. That clarity speeds up movement. That clarity creates confidence. You do not need to be an expert in everything. You do not need degrees, certificates, or permission. You need to identify what you must learn to dominate your space and then master it relentlessly. The world does not reward those who know the most. It rewards those who can do what others can't. Those who bring value where others bring noise. Those who solve problems others cannot touch. That is what specialized knowledge does. It makes you irreplaceable. It makes you necessary. It gives you the power to move through the world with strength, certainty, and purpose, and specialized knowledge is not static. You must renew it, upgrade it, stay sharp. You must never let your mind rest in what you used to know. The world evolves, the tools change, the problems grow, and the man who stops learning is the man who begins to decay. You must become addicted to growth, not in everything, in what matters, in what moves you forward, in what feeds your goal, in what sharpens your craft. You must make it a ritual, a non-negotiable, a daily part of your rise. Just as you train the body, you must train the mind. Just as you feed your desire, you must feed your understanding. Do not be fooled by those who know much and do little. Do not envy those who speak loudly but build nothing. The man of power is often quiet, but his results speak for him. He studies while others sleep. He sharpens while others scroll. He applies while others doubt. He is focused, he is direct, and he is never done learning because he knows his power grows with his knowledge, and his knowledge becomes sharper with his action, and his action becomes more effective with each lesson, and each lesson builds a foundation that cannot be shaken by fear or failure or delay. This is how you rise, not by knowing everything, but by knowing the right things and using them with precision, not by gathering information, but by turning information into tools, not by waiting until you feel ready, but by using what you know now and improving as you go. You must become a builder, a technician, a student of your craft, and a relentless practitioner. That is how specialized knowledge becomes power, not in theory, in action, in results, in transformation. And the more you learn with purpose, the more power you have to execute with force, with speed, with certainty, and without fear. You must ask yourself daily, what am I learning, and is it making me better? What am I consuming, and is it building me or slowing me down? What do I need to master that will make every step more effective? What do I need to let go of that is feeding confusion instead of clarity? The man who asks these questions will not be lost for long. He will not be delayed for long. He will not be stuck for long, because every answer becomes a step forward. Every insight becomes a new tool. Every breakthrough becomes another reason to act. And those who act with knowledge, those who strike with precision, those who prepare their minds like soldiers prepare their swords, they are the ones who take the lead. They are the ones who rise fast. They are the ones who last long. They are the ones who build legacies and movements and empires, because their knowledge has become part of their identity, and their identity is fused with action, and their action is fused with intention, and their intention is fused with purpose, and their purpose is tied to the fire that will not die and will not stop and will not rest, because it knows there is still more and more and more fear is. The shadow that follows every dream, the ghost that waits at the door of every opportunity, the invisible chain that binds the feet of the man who says he wants more, but hesitates the moment the path grows dark. Fear feeds on hesitation. It grows in silence. It multiplies when you stop. It thrives in your mind when you let thoughts go unchallenged, when you pause to ask what if, when you look too long at the mountain instead of taking the next step. But there is one force fear cannot stand against, one weapon it cannot resist, one fire it cannot extinguish, and that is persistence. Persistence is the decision to continue when every part of you wants to quit. It is the will to act again and again and again when there is no applause, no reward, no validation, no comfort. It is not talent. It is not brilliance. It is not motivation. It is simply the habit of motion, the discipline of consistency, the resolve to say, I will not stop, I will not turn back, I will not be moved. And in the face of that kind of relentless pursuit, fear has no power, because fear only wins when you retreat. It only survives when you stop. But persistence leaves it no air to breathe. You must understand that fear is not real in the sense you think it is. It is not danger. It is not death. It is the story your mind tells to protect you from discomfort. And every time you push forward despite that fear, you tear down the illusion. You show your mind who is in charge. You rewire your instincts to act instead of retreat. You train yourself to see the resistance and lean into it, to feel the uncertainty and still press on. And every time you do that, persistence grows stronger. It becomes your armor, your identity, your way of living. No great man has ever lived without fear, but every great man has trained himself to persist in spite of it. They did not wait for fear to vanish. They moved with it in their chest. They acted while hearing it whisper. They built while it screamed in their head, because they understood that motion kills fear. Discipline kills doubt. Repetition builds confidence. And the man who continues long enough becomes immune to the excuses that stop ordinary minds. He becomes addicted to progress. He becomes committed to his cause in a way that no emotion, no setback, no voice of insecurity can interrupt. You must decide right now that you will become that man. That fear will not decide your actions. That hesitation will not own your future. That comfort will not steal your time. You must declare that you will continue no matter what. If it takes 1 year or 10, if you are tired or fresh, if the crowd cheers or stays silent, if the outcome is visible or buried in fog. Because the reward always belongs to the one who continues the longest, not the one who starts with passion, not the one who works when it feels good, but the one who gets up every time life says stay down. Persistence is not loud. It is not flashy. It is not glamorous. It is the quiet decision to show up again, to do what others won't, to move forward while carrying the weight. It is in the early mornings, the late nights, the lonely hours, the silent work. It is in the discipline of finishing when no one is watching, in the practice of doing it right when shortcuts are everywhere. It is in the refusal to be shaken by delay, to be broken by failure, to be turned back by the opinions of the weak. And it is through that long obedience in a single direction that fear finally begins to fade, not because it disappears, but because it no longer controls you. You become dangerous when you no longer wait to feel brave. When your response to fear is not retreat, but repetition. When you do it again and again and again, you don't wait for the feeling to be right. You act because the action is right. You persist not because you are fearless, but because you have decided that nothing matters more than the goal. Not doubt, not fatigue, not rejection, not temporary failure. And every time you act with that mindset, fear loses a piece of its grip. It begins to break. It begins to shrink. And eventually, it becomes nothing more than background noise you no longer answer to. And persistence builds more than progress. It builds pride. It builds identity. It builds the kind of self-respect that cannot be shaken by failure or stolen by circumstance. It tells the world and yourself that you are not here to visit. You are here to conquer. That you are not chasing dreams casually, but hunting them with blood in your eyes. That you are not a tourist in your own life, but a warrior who has planted his flag and will not move until the mission is complete. Most men quit when it gets hard. Most give up when they fail. Most freeze when they're afraid. That is what makes persistence rare. That is what makes it powerful. That is what makes it the great separator between the average and the unstoppable. You must choose which side you will stand on. You must choose what story you will live. You must choose whether you will act once or act until, whether you will try or become, whether you will start or finish. And that choice must be made daily, hourly, in every small moment when fear says wait and you say move, when fear says later and you say now, when fear says enough and you say more and more and more and more. No man rises alone. No man builds an empire in isolation. No man climbs to his highest without surrounding himself with minds that match or multiply his vision. The idea that greatness is a solo pursuit is a lie fed by ego and pride. The truth is this: your strength will always be limited by your environment, your potential will always be restrained by the quality of minds you allow around you, and your success will always accelerate or collapse based on who speaks into your life. The mastermind is the invisible force that multiplies every resource you possess. It is the hidden engine behind unstoppable progress. It is the collective power of focused minds united by purpose, driven by the same fire, committed to the same rise. One mind, no matter how sharp, is limited. One man, no matter how disciplined, will face blind spots, doubts, fatigue. One set of experiences, no matter how rich, cannot prepare you for every battle. But when two or more minds unite with a common goal, with mutual trust, with shared hunger, they create something larger than themselves. A third mind is born, an unseen intelligence, a shared force, a living current of energy that speaks in ideas, guides with instincts, ignites courage, and reveals answers no single man could find alone. This is the mastermind principle. It is not friendship. It is not networking. It is not socializing. It is the deliberate alliance of minds, forged with intent, focused on growth, forged in discipline, and backed by decision. You must choose your circle like your life depends on it, because it does. Every voice in your life is either planting belief or feeding doubt. Every conversation is either sharpening your purpose or dulling your focus. Every influence is either building your courage or multiplying your fear. You do not rise by being around familiar people. You rise by being around driven people. People who speak your vision back to you when you forget it. People who challenge your laziness. People who remind you of your standard. People who see more in you than you sometimes see in yourself. The mastermind is not a luxury. It is a necessity, and you cannot fake this alliance. It cannot be based on convenience, comfort, or status. It must be built on alignment. Alignment of values, alignment of goals, alignment of ambition. The mastermind requires trust, vulnerability, intensity, and truth. It requires you to bring your real self to the table. Not the mask, not the image, not the version of you that performs, but the real you, the hungry you, the growing you, the you who is willing to be held accountable, pushed, corrected, elevated, and unleashed, because in the presence of a real mastermind, excuses die, delusion dies, mediocrity dies. All that remains is truth and action. You must find men who are not afraid to tell you the truth, who will not let you coast, who are not impressed by your words, but only by your execution, who will remind you of your fire when it fades, who will demand more of you, not for their gain, but for your greatness. This is not about comfort. This is about calling. This is not about approval. This is about alignment. The mastermind is where average ambition goes to die and massive vision is reborn. It is the environment where you cannot hide, where your standard is raised simply by being in the presence of those who refuse to settle for less than all they are capable of becoming, and you must also become that person for others. You cannot only consume from the mastermind, you must contribute, bring your best, share your knowledge, speak with strength, build with them, push them, stretch them, stand for their greatness as they stand for yours, because the mastermind is not just a group, it is a responsibility. You rise and lift, you lead and follow, you sharpen and are sharpened, and in that dynamic you grow faster, move bolder, think clearer, and act more consistently than you ever could on your own. The reason most people move slowly is not because they are lazy. It is because they are surrounded by the wrong conversations. Words shape thoughts. Thoughts shape decisions. Decisions shape destiny. If the words you hear daily are filled with fear, gossip, weakness, confusion, distraction, then your vision will shrink and your fire will flicker. But if your environment is filled with hunger, focus, truth, action, clarity, then you will rise by force. The mastermind eliminates noise and replaces it with momentum. It removes excuses and replaces them with execution. It replaces fear with belief, doubt with direction, isolation with insight. And when the days get heavy, when your strength fades, when the world gets loud, the mastermind speaks louder. It becomes your reinforcement. It becomes your fuel. It becomes the mirror that shows you what you forgot about yourself. Because greatness is never created in silence. It is forged in fire, shaped in conversation, stretched in connection, and brought to life through the collision of minds that have decided to go higher, together, without apology, without retreat, without compromise, without delay, and without ever slowing down or lowering the standard, because they know the mission demands all, and they are willing to give all again and again and again and again. Now you know what must be done. You know that action cannot wait, that dreams are dead without motion, that procrastination is not weakness but a decision to retreat, that faith is the fuel and desire is the flame, and persistence is the fire that turns failure into fuel and resistance into reason. You know now that no man rises without a definite purpose, that no future is built without a mind forged in belief, that the words you feed yourself shape the life you live, that the company you keep either multiplies your power or drains it dry. You know now that you cannot afford to wait another day, that your vision will not build itself, that your destiny does not belong to the hesitant, that every excuse must now be silenced, every doubt crushed, every delay destroyed. You know now that the path is narrow, but it is yours, that you do not need permission, you need fire, that you do not need applause, you need hunger, that you do not need comfort, you need decision. So now rise with force, move with purpose, speak with power, think with clarity, surround yourself with warriors, feed your mind with truth, lock your vision in place, eliminate every distraction, crush every excuse, dominate every moment, execute every step, finish what you started, become what you declared, claim what you saw, live what you spoke, act like time is running out, build like there is no second chance, walk like the fire never left you, speak like the world needs your voice, rise like this is your only shot, move like there is no tomorrow, decide like nothing will stop you, persist like you cannot fail, believe like it is already done, and move and move and move.